In 1983, Nigeria expelled 2 million undocumented West African migrants, half of whom were from Ghana. The sturdy check bags into which they packed their belongings have become a symbol of exclusion and intolerance.
Well, if they don't leave, they should be arrested and tried and sent back to their homes.
Jerry Rawlings, Ghana's military head of state, had ordered the borders with Togo closed to desist coup plotters and insurgents, so there would be no passage for days. In response, Togo closed its borders with Benin to avoid a refugee crisis. Cars stalled bumper to bumper from the Benin border to Lagos, with people caught in sweltering heat and without water, disease spread.
So when the Ghanaians wanted to go to their countries, those of them who made attempt to go, they were stopped from the border between Nigeria and Benin Republic because the Beninese government refused Ghanaians to enter into their country in transit for fear that if Ghana refuses to open her borders, then they will stay in Benin. So these Ghanaians have to camp at the border, waiting for their country to.
In the 1970s, Nigeria experienced an oil boom, attracting migrants from across Africa, including Ghananians, who sought better opportunities. With an influx of workers, the Nigerian economy initially thrived. But by the early 1980s, the tides had turned. A global recession, plummeting oil prices, and mismanagement left Nigeria grappling with economic hardship. The tipping point came in 1983, when the Nigerian government under President Shagari enacted a directive ordering undocumented immigrants, many of whom were Ghanaians, to leave the country. An estimated 2 million people were expelled in a dramatic exodus marked by chaos.
When President Shagari swept back to power, the warning signs were loud and clear. Nigeria's economy in a terrible mess, widespread corruption at the highest government levels. Shagari tried to combat both. Only 2 days ago, he announced tough austerity measures. But Nigeria's debts have piled up alarmingly since the oil boom of the 70s collapsed. There are acute food shortages, chronic unemployment, and health and education services in a shambles. And in a country bedeviled by tribal animosities, Shagari's appeals for unity have been ignored.
We don't want division. We don't want north-south confrontation anymore. We want all Nigerians, wherever they are, to regard themselves as brothers and sisters.
Shagari did try to solve the crisis by expelling 2 million illegal immigrants who had come to Nigeria to find work from neighbouring West African states. He accused them of taking jobs away from Nigerians, and his move to throw them out was popular in Nigeria itself, but widely condemned by the rest of the world.
The phrase "Ghana must go" originated from the cheap, checkered bags that many Ghanaians used to pack their belongings during the abrupt departure. These bags now came to symbolize forced migration, resilience, and the unexpected ways the human stories become immortalized in everyday objects. When Lieutenant Rawlings seized power for the second time in Ghana on 31st October 1981, it was like similar coups in Liberia and Ethiopia. Under the pressure of intolerable economic crisis, which had brought in its wake social and political crises of equal daunting proportions, Rawlings' first seizure of power for 4 months in 1979 had the same roots in despair and had been intended as a moral purge.
For the avoidance of any doubts, the following are emphasized. A. The President, the Vice President, and all ministers and their deputies are dismissed from office. B. Parliament is dissolved. C. The Council of State is abolished. D. All political parties are proscribed. It is therefore illegal for any person or persons to belong to or operate under any party.
This time, Rawlings was more ambitious. He promised a national democratic revolution, which would wrest control from the Ghanaian economy from imperialism and end the corruption and privilege which had ruled the country's political life for so long. This is not a coup. I ask for nothing less than a revolution. something that will transform the social and economic order of this country. We are asking for nothing more than proper democracy, to organize this country in such a way that nothing will be done from the castle without the consent and the authority of the people, the farmers, the police, the soldiers, the workers. You are the guardians, said Rawlings in his first broadcast to the nation on 31st December. A retired officer of the Ghana Armed Forces provided insight into the extent of J.J. Rawlings' unpopularity during his rule of the country in the 1980s. Corporal Adebuga disclosed that J.J. Rawlings' popularity took a massive hit after the murder of 3 High Court judges in 1981. He said that in the aftermath of that incident, the Rawlings administration faced numerous coup attempts due to discontent within the Ghana Armed Forces at the time. The most popular and nearly successful coup attempt Rawlings faced was on June 19, 1983, where a group of soldiers with assistance from comrades in Togo almost toppled the Rawlings administration. Providing details on the failed coup attempt, Corporal Adebuga explained that the soldiers managed to secure key installations of the country and were on the verge of victory. He noted, for example, that they had overpowered the guards on Gate 1 and 3 of the Ghana Broadcasting Commission and were almost successful in capturing Gate 2. However, the coup failed due to the lack of central point of leadership and conflicting interests. He noted that once people smelled power, they lost focus and decided to fight for their interests instead of pursuing the collective agenda of toppling the J.J. Rawlings regime. He said that the clashes between the various factions involved in the coup resulted in the improper application of basic military tactics, which allowed the Rawlings administration to reorganize itself and make a successful comeback. Corruption had been endemic in Ghana since independence, an openly accepted part of the economic system. As in all neo-colonial African economies, it is literally impossible for the westernized elite to maintain the lifestyle they inherited from the colonialists without corruption. Smaller scale business people and most important professionals who did not become part of the elite began leaving by hundreds of thousands for Nigeria in the late 1970s. In 1981 alone, it is estimated that 15,000 teachers left Ghana for Nigeria. As Nigeria battles insurgents and a crumbling economy, present-day Ghana is stable, boosted by revenue from gold, cocoa, and oil. Its electricity has attracted more foreign investors and more West Africans, including an estimated 2 million Nigerians. On the other hand, about 500,000 Ghanaians currently live in Nigeria. On almost every street is a store displaying Nigeria's green and white flag, while markets in Makola and Kumasi vibrate with Yoruba and Igbo, Nigerian languages. But like a song stuck on replay, anti-Nigerian sentiments are building up a second time. In Kumasi, stores owned by Nigerians were forcefully shut for not complying with harsh national laws. The laws disregard ECOWAS agreements that encourage free trade. Nigerians living in Ghana complain of being targeted and blamed for rising crime levels. A bad international reputation only gets worse. Recently, a kidnapping case was linked to a Nigerian convict. Between 2018 and now, over 723 Nigerians have been deported from Ghana for prostitution and cybercrimes. In reports as recently as 2025, Ghanaians say they have grown frustrated by the misbehavior of some Nigerians living in their midst, demanding stiff sanctions against them, including mass deportations to their home country.
Nigerians in Diaspora Commission has reacted to a viral video circulated on social media showing a protest by some Ghanaians demanding that Nigerians be deported from Ghana over alleged misconduct. Chairman NITCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, condemned the generalization and blanket outrage against Nigerians living in Ghana, describing it as unfair and unacceptable. She stressed that branding an entire community as criminals is dangerous and should be condemned by all well-meaning individuals. Honorable Dabiri-Erewa appealed for calm among Nigerians in Ghana, urging them not to be provoked into any form of violence. She assured that the matter is being handled diplomatically by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Ojukwu, who has been in contact with Ghanaian authorities. She debunked circulating claims that Nigerians' shops and properties are being destroyed in Ghana, noting that there is no credible evidence to support those allegations.
President John Mahama moved to calm deportation fears, assuring a special envoy dispatched by President Tinubu that there will be no such drastic measures targeting Nigerians who had come under strong criticism from Ghanaians for shady activities in Ghana. A litany of killings, abductions, and growing prostitution is being blamed on Nigerians living in the country. This anti-Nigerian sentiment follows the controversial bid years ago by an influential Nigerian business tycoon living in Ghana to acquire an Igbo kingship title, which Ghanaians believed overstepped the bounds of respectful behavior expected of a non-citizen who should be respecting the laws of his host country. The history of anti-immigration sentiment on the African continent have a long and complex history, from the Ghana must go bags to the protests happening in South Africa urging illegal immigrants to leave. A strong theme that follows through all these is the downturn in economic fortunes. Economics seems to be a strong push and pull force, resulting in people being attracted to a country or pushed out depending on the overall economic conditions at the time.